Hey guys, as we head towards the end of the calendar year of 2018, I am looking back at the top 10 miniature Kickstarters of 2018. Let's go ahead and dig right in. Okay, so 2018 was a crazy year for Kickstarters, especially for miniature-based board games. They were just insane. There was big hit after big company doing it, and it was insane. It was the biggest year by far that I've seen for miniatures and board games. And if you looked at my last video about 2019 Kickstarters coming up, it's going to get even crazier. If you haven't seen that, link in the description below. Just be cautious and lock up your wallet somewhere because it's going to be crazy. But this is about 2018, not 2019. So let's get started. Again, these are my top 10. Your top 10 might be different. If so, or if you change the order, or if you disagree with me, or if you have a suggestion, leave a comment below. I'm going to have another call out to leave a comment for an upcoming video. So stay tuned towards the end where I announce that. But for the top 10 list, number 10. Number 10 would be Reich Projectrill by Mythic Games. This launched just a little bit ago, November 20th, and this kind of just scooted into the 10th just because of the awesome theme it has, the well laid out Kickstarter they did, and just the game itself looks very interesting. A solid Kickstarter on this one. They did really good. There was a lot of passion behind it. Anytime you got Leo on those kind of live videos, he was just going bananas. I think he was about to pass out at the very end there when we were doing the final countdown. He was just like going crazy nuts, and it helped get everybody excited and passionate, and people were excited about what would be unlocked next, and just great Kickstarter there. Reich Projectrill. Next up at the number 9 spot, I have Arena the Contest by Dragory Games. This kind of launched back in March 27th and is maybe not one your guys are as familiar about, but I'm trying to not only just include maybe some of the smaller guys out there now, but really, Dragory Games came out strong with this. The miniatures look great. I like the scope and breadth of the style of them. There's quite a lot of different characters there. The game looks super advanced and unique, and I love the kind of really heavy story and puzzle element to it. That's got me really excited, but it's got this whole PvP mode. In fact, it was the first one of the year that I noticed it had this kind of PvP and PvE mode, and that came out a few different times with several different Kickstarters, but this was kind of the first one I saw with that for 2018. And really just, they did such a good job of communicating and doing updates and deep dives into the gameplay. So by the time the Kickstarter was done, every single backer there, I think, really, truly had all the information they needed to know if they wanted to back it. And that's just so unheard of, even from the big game companies, that they do some great marketing and some great synopsis, but to go that deep down into the rules and examples and images and stuff like that, they did a great job there. So that was Arena the Contest, Dragory Games for my number 9. Next up, number 8. Number 8, I'm giving to Deep Madness by Dimension Games. This was the second printing that launched on October 29th. Deep Madness was kind of almost this sleeper hit. Not that it didn't do well. It did great the first time, but for how successful it's been, how popular it's been, a second Kickstarter was almost just a given, and they were able to do that with a quick turnaround after delivery. So as people came up and started talking about how popular it was, and I just read that Z Garcia included as like his number 4 surprise, was the original Deep Madness. Just, they made a solid game, and they're repeating the Kickstarters, and I really enjoy this repeat of Kickstarters. As somebody who, especially before I really started this channel, really struggled to know when a game was going to come up, and that's part of what drove me to do all these detail videos on these Kickstarters to kind of help get the word out on them, just because it is so hard. Typically companies, if they are hyping it, only hype it on like their personal social media, which you probably aren't even following, and then they only do it like a month out in advance. So not everybody can get on the original Kickstarter or knows about it, but especially once a popular game comes out, if it can come out again on Kickstarter and other people can do it, that's great. Additionally, and why it kind of really makes the top 10 list, is because they took the opportunity to do this as kind of a midway point as well, and add a few new things that kind of bring you towards this dawn of madness, which is 2019. So it gives old people new stuff, it gives new people the old stuff, and it did a really good pricing structure as well. Now, Monolith did this with Mythic Battles Pantheon 1.5, and I could have put that in here, but the Deep Madness being, first of all, kind of more indie, and also kind of the sleeper hit that it was, I think nudged this up to the top, as well as kind of the variety of stuff. They're even doing like books. They're doing a lot of different stuff with their IP that I kind of like. All right, next up, number 7. Number 7 is Claustrophobia 1643 by Monolith. This came out, again, just a bit ago, November 6th, though this one is interesting, and why I liked it is because it was just a super simple Kickstarter. And I love it when it's simple. Now, understand, not every game can be made that simple. Depends on the components and the options and all that kind of stuff. And I get that. You're not going to get Kingdom Death Monster with 2 pledge tiers, for instance. You're not going to just say, here's the game, here's not. But that's what they were able to do with Claustrophobia 1643. Not only is it an IP that people know from long ago, and that could be really popular and introduce new people, but it was just back it and forget it, literally. And a lot of times people do that, and it's a bad thing, but in this one it was kind of a given. You knew everything from day one. There was no surprises, no crazy stretch goals or announcements or changes or shifts, a quick turnaround, and I really, really like when us as consumers know exactly what we're getting into. It's kind of why I said, again, the arena, the contest got in here, same thing with Claustrophobia. The amount of knowledge that you had going into here was very good, and so you could back with confidence and then get it. And the quick turnaround is awesome too. It was very pro-consumer, where Monolith took a lot of the risk onto themselves versus on me, and I am appreciative of that, and so it does make my list here. Next up at number 6, we're almost halfway through here, is Zombicide Invader by Cool Mini or Not. And this came out on April 10th. Now, what I like about Zombicide Invader is just the amount of streamlining that they put into Zombicide. So I'm a big fan personally of very streamlined games. It's one of the reasons I like Blood Rage so much. There are a lot of games that have a lot of cool, interesting mechanics, but that doesn't mean that the game flow itself is good, and it doesn't mean that those mechanics fit together rather well. And so that was like kind of one of my problems with how I see the Tainted Grail combat, where it's like this mini game where you're building a sequence. It just seems so detached from the rest of the game and doesn't involve other players. And so there's maybe some downtime, and it's two cool mechanics that don't necessarily mesh very well. And Zombicide Invader is a big effort to kind of streamline and make the game flow better for Zombicide. So you spawn things differently, doors acted differently, just all of that kind of, those shifts are fundamental gameplay mechanics of Zombicide. So it's quite a risk, in my opinion, for Cool Mini not to even mess with those. They have a system that works, that people like, so to fundamentally mess with it like that, I think is quite daring, but commendable, and I'm excited for it. Additionally, I don't have a ton of space games. Obviously, I'm getting more and more as time goes on, but I am kind of excited to actually have some different things, and when it comes to, just how it looks on the table. So really excited about that, but mostly this came just for the fact that they went and updated a lot of the rules and kind of did some more streamlining, so the game flow will be even better, and I expect this to hit the table quite often in my home. Alright, we're at the midway point. These last 5 are fantastic Kickstarters. The way these Kickstarters were run were just awesome and solid, and you can already start thinking about, okay, what hasn't it listed, what was big in 2018, and I bet you probably have at least 3 of these in mind. So, number 5 is Limbo Eternal War. This was by Limbo Miniatures. It came out on August 1st, so just a couple months ago, really. It wasn't a terrible long time ago, but this Kickstarter came out of nowhere. The hype for this was some of the best done hype I've seen. It was very well done. It kind of came out a little early, and they were just doing snippets and all that kind of stuff. But what I liked about this, besides the fact that it was just a solid offering, was that they went out of their way to really answer questions that came up. So they actually even had like the designer of the game come on there and answer questions and run through, gameplay flow and all that kind of stuff, because there was so much focus on the miniatures. And I'm not nominating this because the miniatures look amazing, which they do. But if this was a top cool miniatures list, it would be a very different list. Maybe I'll make that sometime, but for now, these are just the top 10 miniature Kickstarters, in which case this is commendable just for the sheer effort that they put into trying to draw focus also on the story, especially as different parts come up, whether it's the divinity cards or different skills or card layout or, just the turn order and all that kind of stuff. They did a great job there. So Limbo Eternal War at number 5. All right, number 4 is Nemesis by Awakened Realms. This came out all the way back in January 17th. So this was quite some time ago. And Nemesis was just a rock solid Kickstarter. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about the game. I haven't gotten it yet, so I'll deal with that because I'm in America, so I don't have it yet. I know a lot of other YouTubers, or even many of you probably do, in which case you can let me know how it is. I've heard great things about the game, but the Kickstarter campaign specifically was just like almost, I don't want to say by the book, because I'm not sure there even is a book on this per se. Those are a lot of thoughts and kind of consensus on what works and what doesn't. But I really, really do like how Awakened Realms lets the backers actually help make the game. They always kind of do this stuff where you can vote on the next, hero miniature that they might do, or even maybe the box art, or just those little things. I wish more companies did, just to keep backers invested. It's exciting. I don't want them to give up their creative freedom at all. I want to back somebody who has a good vision of what they want to do. However, I do really enjoy being a part of little things like, okay, on the Kickstarter exclusive box, what do you guys want? Here's some options. You're still offering the options. It's kind of like offering clothes to a toddler. It's like, I don't want you to dress yourself. You're going to look terrible. But here, do you want the red jacket or the blue jacket? That sort of thing I really like. So that was Nemesis by Awakened Realms at the number 4. All right, we're getting to the top 3 here. Top 3. And if you guys know me, you know my number 1. So this third one might be an oddball for you guys, but Black Rose Wars by Ludus Magnus Studio came out April 26th, and Black Rose Wars was, again, just like Nemesis, a rock solid Kickstarter campaign. They just did such a fantastic job of teasing and throwing, curveballs, and, oh, we've partnered with this, and, oh, hey, here's somebody from Assassin's Creed, and here's somebody from Chimera Miniatures, and they did teases, like, even in their updates of, like, upcoming stretch goals, where they would, like, show little parts of the miniature that was going to come out, and they did a great job at, like, just building up hype, and, they had their kind of game featured on several different channels, and just Ludus Magnus Studios hit it out of the ballpark here. They've been getting better and better in the Kickstarters, but Black Rose Wars was really, I think, a critical turning point for them as a company, where they're kind of almost in the big leagues now with everybody else, and that's really commendable. So Black Rose Wars, number 3. All right, top 2. Top 2, if you know me, you know what they are. You might just not know the order. Number 2 is Hate by Cool Mini or Not. This was all the way back January 19th, so barely made it into the 2018, but that means I get to include on this list, so I'm excited about that. Hate was such a crazy, wild ride when it came to the Kickstarter. If you recall back all the way in January, and I covered this quite a bit on my channel, but it started out not getting a lot of love. The theme kind of caused a lot of problems, and I don't know exactly what it was, but it didn't get a lot of traction. But Cool Mini or Not did such a fantastic job on this Kickstarter that it did a 180 and ended up doing very well for itself, especially considering the slow start. It did not follow the typical kind of layout of most Kickstarters where it's like the first 2 days and the last 2 days and everything else is just kind of a steady thing. It like shot up like after a certain amount of time. And the amount of content they put in here. So first of all, as a miniature painter, the fact that there are so many unique sculpts. In fact, the creators of Hate even talked about how as miniature painters, they kept that in mind and wanted things to be a little bit more unique and have these more unique sculpts. So there's hardly any repeats in Hate. The actual gameplay itself for a skirmish game, actually, I really like. I really enjoy card combat or using cards along with miniatures. It's one of the reasons I like Blood Rage so much. So Hate was kind of a shoo-in for that anyway. But they had one of the craziest stretch goals where they just added an entire clan into Hate. So you got essentially an expansion because they were selling this as expansions for free, which is just crazy. That's insane. I've never seen anybody just like throw in an expansion that wasn't even intended to be as a stretch goal just to sweeten the deal. But Cool Mini or Not did that, and it ended up being a fantastic deal for the money and a game I'm rather excited about with a very cool art direction. So that leaves us with the number 1 spot. Now, the number 1 spot at this point, if you've seen my channel, if you subscribe, you know exactly what this is going to be. So before I announce it, for those of you who know, you already know what's coming up. For those of you who don't, you're going to have to, just kind of hang in there a little bit. I'm going to be doing a 2018 Miniature Game Award video at the very end of 2018. We still have a couple weeks left, so there's some time to do that video. I want to include a public voter's choice award, right? Or a viewer's choice award. So down below in the comments, go on and take some time right now while I'm explaining this and write down what your top game of 2018 was. It's free form. It could be anything. It doesn't even have to necessarily be miniature focused. If you liked a card game or a worker placement game, I don't care. I want to know what your top pick is. I will keep track of these and that will be included in that video at the very end of the year. So look forward to that and then let's see who actually wins. Okay. So what wins this one? Number 1, Top 10 Miniature Kickstarters of 2018. The number 1 spot goes to Batman Gotham City Chronicles by Monolith, all the way back from February 27th. Batman Gotham City Chronicles was an insane value. There are so many unique sculpts, so many miniatures, so much game content that they threw in. They learned a lot, I think, from their Conan campaign where the extras and the Kickstarter exclusives weren't used as much. And so I think they did a much better job of incorporating in here. They had their kind of expansions in there. It was a very straightforward campaign. It has Batman. So obviously that's a plus in my eyes. So of course I'm going to rank that a little bit higher, but it follows the Conan, gameplay style, which is one of my all-time favorite games because I really like the river system and the fact that kind of your health is also your resource for using actions and just, I really like that gameplay. But they did also a fantastic job of just going through like scenarios and saying, here's a scenario. If you use Batman, this is what you could do. And you could rappel up here and do all that. Or you could still use Batman and go through this way or use this other character and do this. And so they did a great job again explaining to us kind of how the gameplay worked. It's based off of pre-existing game systems, so we know how that works. It has a great IP with solid art direction and miniature quality and unique sculpt counts are high. And it just all around was kind of, at least for me, which is why it's my number 1, a perfect encapsulation of what I want out of a Kickstarter. It has so much value there. Especially like even just mini per buck is really good, but that's not including the amount of unique sculpts or all the different maps you can get or the tiles you can put on the map and flip over to change up the maps, which is a new addition. Just all this kind of stuff really, really made this kind of my number 1 Kickstarter 2018. It's the one I was looking every single day for updates because they were really solid about teasing the next ones and showing us what we just unlocked and then describing here's why they're unique because they have hacking skills or they do this or they do that. So all around, Monolith gets it. Batman Gotham City Chronicles, number 1 spot. And that is my top 10 miniature Kickstarters of 2018. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this list. This is my first top 10 list, so if you liked me kind of talking through not only the position, but really why where they're at, and why I included them here, let me know, and I can start doing some more of these perhaps because I am rather opinionated. But this has really been a crazy year, and I think this is one of the best ways to encapsulate the wild ride we had as miniature board gamers in Kickstarter for this last year. Guys, I will be talking to you again, maybe before Christmas, but if nothing else, after Christmas. If I don't, have a wonderful holiday season, spend some time with friends and family, play some board games, and enjoy life. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.